term as commissioner. Commissioner Sharpe as well. Her last term we started together. We'll end it together. Right. And we're here to help you learn more about what we do as commissioners, and then also what the county functions are. So we have assembled some of the best and brightest people you ever want to meet. Our department heads and their deputies in some cases, and we'll do introductions in a second. So I think actually right now we will go around the room, and I think we'll start at this table. If you would introduce yourself, and then we'll go around to all our wonderful folks here. So Nancy, you want to say hello?
Nancy Sharpe, Commissioner. On my way out.
Aww.
Joan Lopez, Arapahoe County Clerk and Recorder.
And I'm candidate.
And candidate.
And I'm candidate Marcia Burzins, and I'm running for treasurer.
I'm Bob Andrews, candidate for Arapahoe County Assessor.
Don Skelly, I'm the guy who made the power plant.
BK Kaiser, Assessor and Returning.
Hi everybody, I'm Mark Otto. I'm running for Arapahoe County Commissioner District 2.
And in very not awkwardly, I'm Jessica Campbell Swanson. I'm also running for Arapahoe County Commissioner District 2.
Sue Sandstrom, current Arapahoe County Treasurer, not running for anything ever again.
All right, so we will start with you, Brian.
Brian Weiner, Public Works and Development Director.
Carl Herman, Deputy Clerk of Court.
Laura Mazer, Senior Strategy Analyst with the Department of Strategy and Performance.
Patrick O'Neill, Director of Facilities and Fleet Management.
Lisa Vertec, Office Administrator for the Coroner's Office.
Ken McClem, Captain from the Sheriff's Office. Todd Weaver, Finance Director.
Bill Sedina, Technology Director.
Michelle Halstead, Director of the Commissioner's Office. Kathy Smith, Community Resources Director.
Ron Carl, County Attorney.
Cheryl Turner, Human Services Director.
Patrick Hernandez, HR Director.
Jennifer Lovett, Public Health Director.
And we had some folks come in.
Hi, Cinnamon Watson with Catalyst. And Jennifer Webster with Catalyst Public Affairs.
They're doing some consulting work for us, which you may hear about later. And you, sir, are?
Ken Nedling, running for Arapahoe County Sheriff.
Oh, okay. And ma'am?
And I'm Caroline Cornell, running for Clerk and Recorder.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, thank you all, and thank you for your time. We've been reminded a couple times that it is dinner time, so I'll say one more time, and then I'm going to give it up, but we do have cookies. So that's for us. So let me just tell you the rundown so everybody knows who's first and so on, and then we'll get right to the PowerPoint. Commissioner Sharpe and I are going to be doing kind of a introductory remarks, just kind of setting the stage, if you will. Then we'll hear from the Assessor's Office, the Clerk and Recorder's Office, Community Resources, Coroner's Office, County Attorney's Office, Commissioner's Office, Fleet and Facilities, Finance, Human Resources, Human Services, IT, Open Spaces. I haven't seen it from Open Spaces yet.
He's on his way.
Oh, he's on his way. Okay. Public.
Sorry about that.
Public Works and Development, Sheriff's Office, Strategy and Performance, and then the Treasurer and Public Trustee's Office.
And we'll be out of here by breakfast.
Yeah. So all these people that are here tonight, as I mentioned, are really amazing folks, and we work together. I don't like to say it's a family because there's some pretty dysfunctional families out there, but we really do work together as co-equals, and governing this county, we don't have anybody that is directing things other than things that come to the commissioners, and we make final decisions on a lot of things. The offices obviously make some decisions for their office. So tonight, we hope to give all the candidates a deeper understanding of how the county administration works. The staff you see here and their teams touch so many residents' lives every day. Most people, and you will find this, maybe you already have as you've kind of gone out and talked to citizens about your candidacy, most people have no clue what the county does. And we have an immense scope of services that we provide and the hard work that goes into that. So hopefully after tonight, and hopefully you've all been doing your research so that you'll have a better grasp of the work that we do. So before we do that, we're going to go over some background information, sort of County 101, if you will. And then my colleague, Commissioner Nancy Sharpe, will explain the function of the BOCC, or the Board of County Commissioners. After her presentation, our department directors and representatives from elected offices will briefly explain what they do and the services they provide for our residents. And then at the end, I know this is hard, so hopefully you've got some paper or something to write down your questions at the end. We're thinking that if you stopped us every time you had a question, we might truly be here to breakfast. So about the county, here we go. All right, we've got, it's a big county. We were the first county in Colorado, by the way, and from us, other counties have been carved out. We've got 800 square miles with 13 different cities and towns, and they represent every kind of community. We are one of the most diverse counties in the country. And I like to say we got really rich people, we got people who have, we have lots of pockets of need, we've got young people, we've got old people, and we have people from hundreds of, well, something like 160 different countries. We've got urban and suburban, Aurora, Centennial, and Littleton, to the rural areas around Byers, Watkins, and Deer Trail. Most of our population, of course, lives in our cities and towns. About 100,000 are in unincorporated areas. We also have really good partnerships with our cities and towns, and that's really, really very meaningful to us. We've got 9 individual school districts, all serving unique populations of students from all these different backgrounds. And believe it or not, we got 433 local and special districts. So there's a lot going on in the county. Our county is large in population as well. We're one of the fastest growing counties in the state with about 655,000 residents. We're currently the 3rd largest county in Colorado, which is kind of cool. El Paso and Denver have more than we do. And if our current growth trends continue, we're likely to be the most populous county in the metro area. That means beating Denver, surpassing City County. Median age of Arapahoe County resident is, I wish we had time, we could do a little quiz. How old do you think the median resident is? I'm going to tell you, 36, and our population is becoming more and more diverse. Though more than half of our residents are white, we've got large Hispanic, African American, and other populations that make Arapahoe County unique among our peer counties. Over the next 20 years, we're expected to become the most populous county in the state, actually surpassing both Denver and El Paso counties. So our median income is about $80,000 a year. Douglas County has a higher median income. We have a really varied economy. We've got ranching, we've got, really big tech companies, we've got lots of small businesses, we've got farming, construction, we've got healthcare, we've got space, we've got professional and technical and financial services, and of course, retail. So like all large counties, we've got residents who are unemployed and experiencing poverty. We've got homeless folks, and we have a robust program to deal with that, hopefully. Despite hardships of the pandemic and all the economic ups and downs of the last 10 years, Number of county residents who are unemployed has dropped by over 4,000 people, even as the county tries to grow and continues to grow. We've got a great workforce development center, which you'll probably hear about soon. So it's positive. We're going in a positive direction. We're very confident that we've got promise and opportunity for our residents. So we're really excited about that. So number one jackpot question is, what do counties do? In a nutshell, counties are responsible for the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. And of course, you've heard we have a new health department that's coming online as of January 1st. As a constitutional subdivision of the Colorado state government, Arapahoe County can only exercise those powers specifically expressed in statute or constitution. So we don't get to make up laws. That's not what we do. The state or the feds make up the laws, and we deliver. We like to say that counties do the work of state government. We implement the programs that the state wants us to. A lot of people think that county governments are a lot more independent than they actually are. It's important to understand that our board, the Board of County Commissioners, is only responsible and only perform certain functions. All of our responsibilities and duties are laid out in statute or in Colorado State Constitution, which designates county governments as essentially a subdivision of the state government. Our responsibility, the duty we feel, guides all our decision-making above all else, and that's to work to provide the health, safety, and welfare of our constituents and our residents. Our 5 elected county offices also have roles and responsibilities identified within the state statute. And as Commissioner Sharpe will share, these offices have some independence from the rest of the county. Yeah, I was going to say something else, but it's getting my mind. So Commissioner Sharpe, go for it.
Okay. So the role of county commissioners, and if you learn from this, you will know probably 97% more than anybody else in the county about what a commissioner does.
That's right.
Because most people have no idea. So much of our role is to make sure our departments have resources they need to do their jobs and to do them well. The board serves as administrative and policy-making body, and because we do not have a county commissioner, this county board has both roles. We oversee
County manager.
What did I say?
Commissioner.
Oh, manager, thank you. We do have 5 county commissioners.
Yes.
Yes. As one person said, the 5-headed monster at times. We oversee 11 county departments. We hire leaders who manage the day-to-day operations and report directly to the board. We adopt ordinances pertaining to the county's unincorporated areas, and we decide land use issues within those areas. We also decide how to handle property valuation protests as we are the Board of Equalization, and we appoint residents to various committees and boards. The commissioners create and approve the annual budget to fund the county's many programs and services. And finally, each of the commissioners represents Arapahoe County on various regional, state, and national boards and committees. This gives us the ability and opportunity to advocate for our residents and gives us really a unique perspective to other officials. And we bring back ideas we think will improve the quality and the services that our residents could use. And we discuss those. So as we meet every Monday and Tuesday all day. And the first thing that we do, because we go to all of these different boards and committees, and I think we all sit on maybe 11 or 12 different committees, is we share what everybody did the previous week so that we're all trying to stay up to date on everything, even though we represent different we're on different boards. So unlike cities, the board does not oversee the operation of elected offices. The only authority is budgetary. That doesn't mean that we don't work together, because we have a very good working relationship, and I think an excellent working relationship, and always have in the 12 years we've been here with our elected officials that we call our A-team, and we're comprised of all of the elected officials within the county. And we meet on a quarterly basis, and again have the opportunity to share ideas, talk about what's going on at the county, and talk back and forth on what might be new, but also to hear from the elected officials around the county and what is important and what they're doing. And that really, I think, helps the Board of County Commissioners to stay on top of things. So our total county budget is almost $451 million. The general fund is not quite half of that, and you'll probably hear a little bit more from Todd, back over there. And roughly 1/3 is funded by federal and state governments. So those would be like human services, community resources, transportation, and we have one of the lowest mill levies in the state, which is really a testament to us. And Arapahoe County, we keep less than 15% of property taxes. I think sometimes when people say, well, my taxes that I pay to Arapahoe County are so big, ask them to look at their tax statement, and you'll see that the vast majority goes to schools, 57%, 22% goes to water, fire, libraries, and metro district services, and 7% goes to our cities and towns with a 0.25 sales tax, and that's for open space, and that's the only sales tax that we have. Otherwise, it's property tax only. We are subject to TABOR, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and we are one of, I think, maybe 7 or 8 counties in the state whose general fund is still subject to TABOR. And that does prohibit tax increases without voter approval. TABOR is tricky because it limits the growth of revenue, not spending. And so we're always, we're seeing this push and pull because spending increases and our revenue is constrained. So you'll hear that is kind of a difference of opinion on who thinks TABOR is a good thing and who thinks TABOR is not. So our key initiatives, and I think you'll hear more about these from our presenters, but our public health department that we've probably all been hearing a lot about. Jennifer will be able to talk more about that, but we're very excited, and it's a tremendous amount of work. When Douglas and Adams bailed on us, we didn't want to just be a single county, but they made that decision for us, and here we are. And I think the opportunity really is to have a health department that meets the needs of our county and not sort of compromised between other counties as well, or doing things for other counties as well. And 18th Judicial, we are also separating. We will continue to be the 18th Judicial District, but 23rd will be Douglas, Lincoln, and Elbert. So we've been the largest judicial district in the state, and that will start to, so we'll divide that up. Again, that'll be a good thing in the end, but all of these things are a lot of work, and they're more costly, when you're doing them by yourself rather than as a group. they're going to be more costly. So we are looking for a lot of ways to economize and to make sure that we do the best job that we can, provide the most amount of service and the services that our residents expect, but try to do it as efficiently as possible. Our funding prioritization and public outreach. As the board, we're keenly interested in helping determine our funding priorities now and in the years ahead. As I noted in the budget, we have some challenges given needs and constraints. We're going to have some public opinion outreach, and so we'll be, if you get a call from our friends back here, answer honestly, and and that will really help us to get a good feel for what our residents are thinking and what they believe are the most important services, and such as safety net services, transportation, public safety, and their willingness to fund those things. You know, so everybody wants them, but when it comes down to paying more for them, that can sometimes be not so easy. Our strategic plan, we did do in 2020 a pretty in-depth and went through quite a number of meetings developing a strategic plan and addressing those fiscal challenges and reestablishing county goals, outcomes, our vision, and in a post-COVID environment. And we're kind of guessing at what some of that is like, as now we're moving into that, but we still have lingering issues from COVID. So we made significant progress, but we know that there's those things always change and it's not static. And so we'll always be, or the Board of County Commissioners in the future will be continuing to look at those things with our elected officials in coordination with our elected officials team. Homelessness, as I think we all know, has become quite a significant issue. We see it everywhere, and we've spent quite a bit of time talking about how to be most effective. There's no really, we can't wave the magic wand. So we're trying to figure out how to take care of this issue most effectively. Regional opioid coordination, you've probably heard, and maybe Ron's going to talk a little bit about the opioid settlement that was made and the money that's coming to the state and ultimately to the county and cities, and how that will all work to the benefit of, with, again, working out a lot of these details, but he's been played a major role in, from a state standpoint, in getting that coordination done, and how we handle that those funds over many, many years. ARPA, the American Rescue Plan, we got
127.
Oh, we got a lot of money.
127
$127 million. And, you know, when all of a sudden you get this money and you're trying to figure out how best to spend it and meet all of the federal guidelines, many times they're evolving as you get the money, but you don't quite know how to spend it yet. You don't want to have any clawbacks because, you know, 3 or 4 years from now, they say, oh, well, you owe us $20 million because you didn't spend this. And we go, oh, wow. So it's been a lot of work to, again, to make sure that that money was spent absolutely in accordance with federal guidelines and to meet the best future needs of our residents. And what we've really focused on is one time, because this money is one-time money. It is not going to continue. So we can't make decisions with this money today for programs that are going to last 5 years, 10 years, because there's not going to be the funding to do it. Whereas we might be able to put money into infrastructure that's a one-time investment. And DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that we have spent quite a bit of time. We have had a consultant that worked across the county to look at the issues, looking at what we could do differently, better than what we do today. I think we do a really good job, but that doesn't mean that we can't improve. And so we're taking a lot of recommendations and advice from them. So Commissioner Jackson, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you, Commissioner Sharpe. Yeah, that's exhausting. No wonder we're tired. So I'm going to talk about the assessor's office and PK, since you're a candidate, I guess, and your deputy couldn't come tonight, so I get to play assessor. So if you have any questions, please don't ask. The assessor's office discovers, lists, classifies, and values all real and personal property tax, it's already up there, in Arapahoe County. They maintain our public records, so if you own property and you want to find out, where is the, see, I can't remember all the titles, the title and so on, then you can call the assessor's office, and it's also online. We submit the abstract of assessment to the Colorado Division of Property Taxation, everybody's favorite, as well as certified values to taxing entities, and produce the warrant roll. And they are audited by the state every year. So we rely heavily on our excellent assessor's office and people that work there for accurate information, so that we can then assess taxes and afford all the things that Commissioner Sharpe was mentioning. Their budget, 6.2 million, 93% of which is salaries, and they've got 63 employees, mostly going out there and assessing properties. And in the last couple of years, so they do a reevaluation every 2 years, and things are changing all the time, and there's new building and all that, so they're very, very busy office. They also have to do reassessments, and they did over 240,000 parcels with notices of value. If you own property, you get little notices of value every year by the end of April. So it's quite a detailed and complex office, and really important, critical part of the county's functioning. So that's all I've got here, so I can't tell you too much more, sorry. So our next office, so I think these are in alphabetical order, is our clerk and recorder's office. And Carl, I think you're gonna, wherever you want. You
guys have to turn your back, so I'll come up.
So you might reintroduce yourself.
Okay. Carl Herman, Deputy Director in Clerk and Recorder's Office. Who's got that slide? So I'm going to go off of my notes because I had another script to change. So first and foremost, the Clerk and Recorder's Office is a very large and complex forward-facing operation. We handle about 1 million transactions every single year. We see ourselves, because of that, one of the most critical pieces of the service first mission that the county's kind of installed in our mantra. So we are broken up into 4 divisions within that office. We have an administration division, a motor vehicle division, an elections division, and a records division. It has our recording. I'll kind of collect some of that as we go forward. So those are our 4 ones: administration, elections, motor vehicle, and records. So I'll kind of walk through each of these. All of them have 2 sections within them. So our administration team has 2 sections: our clerk to the board team and our office liaison team. Some of these you can probably deduce what they actually are, but I'll walk through it. So our clerk to the board team is responsible for transcribing the meetings to the Board of County Commissioners, as well as many of the other various board and commissions that they sit on. They also maintain the official records, which is super exciting stuff, but it does get a lot of traction and public knowledge. So they also house all of our historical records for the county. That's audio, resolutions, ordinances. It's also the fun stuff like our special district service plans and maps. Our office liaison team is a little different. We've kind of structured and mirrored what the county has done with the business partners around. So we have a team here that more or less is the bridge building and the rapport building with all of our partners over here so that we can interact and continue to do our own operations while still maintaining those relationships. So we've kind of just mirrored what the county has done at a high level. Then we have our motor vehicle division, our largest division. There's two sections in there as well. There's the motor vehicle operations branch group, and there's also the training team. The motor vehicle operations group is, when you think of motor vehicle, hopefully good things, you're coming to our offices. We've got 4 of them. We've got the Littleton, which is about, I think, 15 counters, Centennial, 19 counters. Aurora, the actual largest motor vehicle office in the entire state, is 30 counters. And our buyers branch, which is kind of shared with the bank at the moment, is 1 counter. We do a ton of work there, but that's vehicle registrations, renewals, titles, disability placards, things like that. Our elections one gets a lot of attention lately. This one also has 2 sections. We've got our voter services team and an election services team. That's a relatively new breakup that we've done. That team's 15 people, but what's so unique about that is the voter services team is specific to voter registration, the address library, and that's the kind of stuff that puts all the information into the ballots that get sent out. Whereas the election service team, that one is specific to the logistics of running an election. So propping up the voter service polling centers, sending out all the mail ballots, tabulating all those mail ballots, retaining and doing all the security for our drop boxes and all of our materials, in addition to doing the fun stuff like Uwakava and all the other mailings and community stuff that we do. And the voter services also deals with, I'll let this out, the customer service piece. So we've got a very large county, which usually leads to a lot of calls, but it's a seasonal kind of push. And then the last group, our records division, has 2 sections. There's reporting, and then there's also our bookkeeping. The bookkeeping is the accounting. They do all the auditing and all the financial stuff. We take in about, our budget this year is about $15 million to bring back to the counties, but we also dispense and distribute about $90 million. So there's a lot of moving around with all the money we have to do every day. A lot of it's still cash in some of our places. Some of our offices mostly deal in cash still, but they also, in the recording group, deal with the records, the indexing, the property records, marriage, the civil union licenses, and we have an ancillary service that we are doing as much as we can to generate additional revenue, but is not required, and that is the passport thing. However, I'm sure all of you guys have heard already that people want us to do more of it. We just don't have the bandwidth at the moment. Next slide. This one, we have a budget of $13.1 million this year. We project to bring in about $15 million. We have to adjust those things. We work with the finance department when those things are changed. Full-time employees, we are a very large forward-facing operation, 130 people. The administration division, 10 people, motor vehicle, 88, election, 15, and records, 17. And to the comments that the commissioner said earlier, we do a lot with the lean office that we have. If you compare this to counties of our size, we are smaller in every single category in our office. So we get a lot done with less, which is awesome. And then the last slide, this is some of our upcoming projects. So everyone's aware, obviously, the 2022 general election, which is right around the corner. We've got the really fun 2023 county redistricting project, which we're working on. That is always a fun project. We're constantly trying to educate the public, improving our access and our transparency. If you haven't seen our websites, please check them out. The motor vehicle group, we have a new mortgage mail system. Historically, that has been something that we've lost a lot of money on by just doing a lot of overtime because we couldn't keep pace. So we've devised a new system that has reduced that tremendously. We've reduced our turnaround time, the overcalls because of that. But we're also trying to keep pace with the growth. So one of the things we did was we went to a all appointment option. Historically, we are 45 to 90 minute wait times. We are 10 to 15 minutes. I just came back from a clerk conference and I had a conversation with someone in another county, a very small county. I asked, what's your time? 60 minutes. We are 10 to 15 minutes. Huge changes, and the feedback because of that has been rather good. We are now looking at about 80 to 86% customer satisfaction. Historically, we're 45. You've seen the Disney movies that make fun of motor vehicle for being sloths, but it's improved a lot. Recording, one of our biggest projects that we are still working on now is we had 1995 to present online, and we collect revenue on some of that. We have a new setup now, a new portal. We also have a nice little deal where we're going to collect some of the credit card fees that come back as a reduction in the cost. But we are going to be adding every single record online. So the public room in the back, we can completely get rid of it, take those resources, move them to a front counter to handle anyone coming to the counter. And now everyone can go online and get those certified copies as well, which will be additional revenue as well. And then we have our administrative group, and the number one thing here is just improving retention and expanding that recruiting. And then obviously fully implementing the DEI into our culture. The one challenge right now, going back to what everyone is feeling, is that it's hard to recruit. So that is the main role as the administration team, is basically to engage our employees, make sure that they have the resources, the training that they need, and then find out feedback what we can do better, which every day we hear every day. So that's us in a nutshell.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. This is alphabetical, so we had 2 offices. Now we'll go to departments and community resources with Kathy Smith.
Yes, welcome. So nice to meet everyone. So community resources, we have a wide variety of different programming within our department. I'll kind of go through each of those. But really we are looking to, and you can do the next slide, our programming is serving our low-income individuals and families, our older adults and those with disabilities, our veterans, our justice-involved population, as well as job seekers and businesses. And our programming is really to enhance our quality of life and ensure that we have a strong community through each and every one of our programs. You can see down in that corner there, that goes through all of the different programs and divisions within community resources. So our housing and community development services, we oversee all of our HUD funding, so our CDBG funds, our home funds, as well as some of those homeless initiatives that Commissioner Sharpe and Commissioner Jackson mentioned, and we'll talk about that here in another slide as well. Judicial services, that's really restorative programming to reduce recidivism and work towards building our community. We have pretrial services, our community services, and also community corrections. Our senior resources, that is all of our homemaker and chore services, really aiming to keep our seniors and our disabled population in their homes, living as independently as possible. Our finance and administrative services, of course, they support our all of our grants and funding, which we'll talk about on the next slide. Our veteran services, we really help our veterans in our community to go through that claim process with the Veterans Administration and gain all the benefits that they're eligible for. Weatherization, we weatherize homes in our community as well as in Adams County to work towards energy efficiency, safety measures, those types of things, reduce costs. And then of course our workforce center, Arapahoe Douglas Works, we work directly with our job seekers to upskill, reskill, find jobs for them, as well as work directly with our businesses to really work towards those talent gaps and talent pipelines. Okay, so staffing, you can see here that we are mainly grant funded, and those are state and federal grants that we are funded by, 90%, and then 10% comes from county funds. We have 10 major funding streams. Again, most of those are through those state and federal grants. Our annual budget is $42 million for 2022, and we don't anticipate to be too changed in 2023. Our total employees are 234. Of those, about 20%, so 46 are grant funded or temporary. Even though we say that only 46 are grant funded, really 188, some of those are actually funded by grants. They're just considered an FTE because they get those full benefits. The grant funded positions aren't getting the full benefit package that the FTEs are, but we're still doing all of the great work. So next slide. All right, upcoming projects. So as was mentioned, we are working really hard on getting our homeless coordinating committee up and running. So it's a regional approach to collaboration with our local municipalities and service providers and partners to really start to address the issue of homelessness. And we are creating a countywide strategy that we're going to be working off of and really trying to be very strategic in how we're spending some of those HUD funds that we have, and then looking out for additional funding that could be out there through grants and things like that. ARPA funded projects and pilot programs. So those are keeping us very busy. We have tentatively allocated, our BOCC has tentatively allocated 23 million, a little over 23 million towards homeless and housing projects. We have about 5 million left in future funding for our business recovery under ARPA. And then we also have around $1 million still for our expanding vulnerable populations for some of our justice-involved judicial service projects. And those are, many of them are pilots, and some of them are also infrastructure projects that we're partnering with others on getting those up and going. We also, in the coming years, we will be working to really develop our talent pipelines. We've seen quite an increase in funds for our workforce center through some state legislation as well as local county ARPA funding that I mentioned, and then also some additional grants specific to apprenticeships. So we're going to be really working to identify, build up those talent pipelines that we need in our community, and then increase apprenticeships. We are hoping to not only increase apprenticeships in our community, but also here at the county and utilize those services here. In addition, we've got some increased weatherization funding through the infrastructure package, that federal package. And so we anticipate about double our funding. So there'll be some new programming and opportunities coming there as well. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. I know there's going to be questions, but if you don't mind on those. Now we have another elected office, the coroner's office, Lisa Valentine.
Hi, my name is Lisa Valentine. I'm the office administrator with the coroner's office. Our office, the coroner's office serves the living by investigating sudden unexpected deaths, especially those that occur under violent or suspicious or traumatic circumstances. By state statute, we investigate all reportable deaths occurring within our county, and we do forensic autopsies to determine the cause and manner of death under national guidelines so that we can provide death certification. So just like everyone has a birth certificate with vital records, we issue death certificates to be certified with vital records. Our annual budget is a little over 2.6 million. We have 17 employees, so we have 2 forensic pathologists, which is amazing because there's only about 650 in the country. 1 administrator, 11 medical investigators, and 3 autopsy technicians. And we are a 24/7, 365-day operation. Our upcoming projects is installing a full body radiology system. So currently we have a pretty antiquated system that, you still use you have to put the body on the tray and then run off to a computer. This will be more like a CAT scan machine, and it will, save on any kind of workers' comp claims with less injuries, and also greatly reduces any radiation exposure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. All right, importantly, our county attorney.
Good evening, I'm Ron Carl. I'm the county attorney, and what our office does is we are a full-service in-house law firm for the county. As one of my attorneys said, we do the law. We basically are set up with 2 offices. We have an office out at Center Point Plaza in Aurora, and that office handles all the human services related matters, dependency and neglect cases, adult protection cases, welfare fraud, child support enforcement. And then we also have an office here at the admin building upstairs, and this office, we call it the admin office, does everything else. So, which is very wide, broad, and diverse. One of the enjoyable things about practicing law for a county is just all the things you get to do. You never get a chance to get bored. All the things that these folks talk about in front of you, we're involved in all of this stuff in some way, shape, or form. So I won't go through it all, but bore you to tears. We do represent the county, all the officials and employees if they're sued. So we get various cases that are brought against the county and elected officials and employees, employment cases, law enforcement cases, motor vehicle accident cases. Those are our main types of cases. We rarely use outside counsel. We like to preserve county dollars by doing everything in-house because we think it's cheaper that way. And we're pretty effective in handling most everything. There's a few things occasionally we go outside for. Myself, so the way the attorneys and do their work is they're assigned to specific departments and offices or areas of law. So for example, there's an attorney assigned to the clerk's office, there's an attorney assigned to the sheriff's office. Another example is we have an attorney that does all the employment law for the county. So they all have specializations. And myself, I'm the primary attorney for the Board of County Commissioners. I try to keep them out of trouble, which is usually pretty easy, but difficult. And I'm also involved in a lot of the major county projects and initiatives, including lately, I've been very involved in the public health, setting up our public health department and winding down the Tri-County Health Department, which is going to happen pretty soon. I was very involved at the state level in helping figure out how we're going to use the opioid litigation settlement funds that are coming into the state and setting that up. Now I'm involved within the county and how we're going to use them within the county. So those are a couple of the major initiatives I've been involved in. ARPA, I've been in CARES Act before that. All this money that we've got from the federal government, I've been involved in making sure we comply with all the laws related to how we're supposed to spend our money. So, that my office does is we have a risk management division within the county attorney's office, and risk management is involved in making sure we have appropriate insurance, handling basic claims and workers' comp claims. And then we also manage the County Board of Equalization, which is property tax appeals. And so we do that too. So, okay. We have an annual budget of around 6.7 million, and we have a little more than 50 employees total in both offices. Attorney's office.
Thank you. Michelle, Commissioner's Office.
Hi, everyone. Michelle Halstead. Nice to see you all, and thanks for being here. So the Commissioner's Office provides daily support to the county commissioners, including coordinating community engagement for the entire board. We also coordinate the county's intergovernmental relations and legislative affairs programs, both at the state and federal level. And we also manage specific programs within the County Commissioner's Office. We have a nonprofit grant program, and we also fund our economic development partners, so we manage those programs through the office. We also coordinate countywide initiatives as directed by the board, and we provide integrated communications support, including media relations, for all the departments and most of the offices, excluding really the Sheriff's Office. And then we do have in-house printing, mail, and courier services, so that's part of that integrated communications approach. Next slide. We do this work with 23 employees across 3 divisions. We have, our annual budget is about 3.3 million. We also manage the board's budget, which is 1.2 million. And then there's a $1.7 million is that grant program for nonprofits that we manage as well. If you look at upcoming projects or activities, we are engaged in many of the external and internal countywide initiatives. We kind of keep the list. But a lot of work in partnership with many peers across the county. So I just want to highlight a couple. Clearly, we've been really involved in facilitating that public health transition with many of my peers. We also are implementing several of the ARPA projects, mostly in the areas of higher ed. We're making some capital investments in our community colleges. We're doing a K-12 grant program for mental health. And we're doing some addiction support clinics. And those are some of the programs we're making sure are implemented. We also launched a economic development campaign called Where Good Things Grow. And that was really to position the county kind of post-pandemic as a place to do business, but also to spur investment and really help with that recovery. So that is underway and will continue into next year. I also wanted to highlight one of the things we did recently on behalf of the board is work with the Arapaho Tribe. And so you may have seen that we recently approved, the board approved a memorandum of agreement with the tribe that outlines how we will work with them and formalizes that relationship. So we're helping implement what that will look like, including a trip to the Wind River Reservation at the end of the month. So the board will be going up and meeting with the tribe and talking about how to deepen that relationship. And then finally, we're partnering with IT and others across the county to do a refresh of the county website. So that'll hopefully be, a vendor will be selected by the end of this year, and then we'll implement that throughout 2023. That's it.
Thank you. Not going on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patrick O'Neill, Director of Facilities and Fleet Management. Administrative services in our division include budget development, monitoring invoices, processing invoices. We do the security badges, vendor background check. We help with pool vehicles. We do have a warehouse and many other things under administrative services. We have a project management team, and we're capable of doing the full range of project services from remodel to new construction. We can develop costs, we can secure contractors all the way through concept through completion of construction. Our facility operations team, we handle everything from maintenance, custodial. We have skilled trades, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, general maintenance people. We do all the parking lot repairs, snow removal, all things that are associated with the facilities. And there's 33 buildings. And we always strive for energy efficiency, conservation, water conservation. Those are some of our big goals that are always incorporated in everything that we do. Our fleet services, we have over 1,100 vehicles, and we do the full maintenance and servicing of all vehicles. We have our own mechanic staff, and we handle everything to do with the vehicles. We have 2 fueling, above ground fueling stations that we manage, and we handle everything related with the fuel and the vehicles. And one side note on this is that we are looking at energy conservation efforts there as well, in looking at electric vehicles, and we have some things underway that we're trying to, where appropriate, we're trying to secure a couple of electric vehicles, about 7. Our annual operating budget this year is about $24 million, and about 11 million of that is staff salaries. About 10 million is capital improvement projects, and then the rest is our building operation and maintenance. And our biggest projects right now are upcoming projects. We're currently working on a detention center, medical, kitchen, and laundry renovation project. And we have a courthouse 2 construction effort that's underway right now. And then we're looking at space utilization study, which is culminating very soon. We'll have some results on that one, which I think will be very exciting with the new hybrid work schedules that have flushed out from COVID and other things. And then the last big one is our facilities condition assessment, which will help lay the map for the coming years of what major work we'll need to do and different things like that. So, thank you very much for your time.
Todd?
Hello again, I'm Todd Weaver, I'm the Finance Director. The Finance Department is, we're here to provide accurate and timely financial services, information analysis, and support not only to the Board of County Commissioners, but the departments and offices you see here tonight, as well as the general public. And one that's commonly forgotten is the financial community. There's a lot of financial reports that we have to publish and post on websites that show the county's financial transparency, accountability, and creditworthiness. What does that mean in practical terms? We have 4 divisions in the Finance Department: accounting, purchasing, budget, and the SAP Business Operations Division. Accounting by far has more than half of the employees in the Finance Department. Those are all of our accountants, grant accountants. We also have accounts payable and receivable functions within finance. As you may have heard from some of the other departments and offices that have gone before me, they all have their own financial folks within their departments. We're kind of the central finance, A lot of our financial functions are decentralized, so when invoices come into departments, they're the subject matter experts on what that invoice is for, whether they've received the goods or services. It all goes through our financial system, SAP, ends up with our accounts payable people who do the final check and actually cut the payments. The same goes for accounts receivable. We do that on behalf of accounts receivable that are for the entire county. If they're specific to the departments and offices, they do that. Payroll is within the accounting division, so paying 2,300 employees every other week is what our payroll folks do. We also have an analyst that assists the open space department with an analysis of the sales tax, interacts with the State Department of Revenue if you have any questions on that. Budget division, pretty self-explanatory. Budget preparation, analysis, forecasting, and on occasion control. Debt management, luckily we don't have too much debt, so that's not a big portion of it. One of the other things you'll see up there is mill levy certification, just a quick little primer on that. The assessor certifies the value for all the 433 special districts. Then between essentially December 13th and December 18th, all 433 districts will send us a mill levy certification form to our budget division staff. We get that information in, compile it, proof it, and then turn it over to the treasurer's office for the tax warrant roll. So a little small activity, but if we don't do it correctly, it can get into the tax warrant roll incorrectly, and the treasurer's office checks it as well. But that's obviously an important responsibility when, as Commissioner Sharpe pointed out, most of the taxes don't stay here at the county. They go to school districts and other special districts and local governments. Purchasing, they handle all the procurement, guide our departments and offices through the procurement process, whether that be bids or solicitations or simple purchases. Also help with vendor relations and contract administration from time to time. And then finally, last but not least, our SAP Business Operation Division. SAP is the financial ERP system that the county uses. And unlike the functions that you'll hear from Phil Savino in the Information Technology Department, we have a few folks in the finance department that help with the functional aspects of the system. So when you enter an invoice for payment, how does that flow through the system and then get recorded in our general ledger? Same goes for payroll. They provide payroll support. If something's not getting paid correctly, they go in and figure out why not. All told, we have 32 full-time equivalent positions in finance and a budget of just over $4 million. What major projects do we have? Well, I mean, some of these are not new or upcoming, but ongoing. In finance, we do have to comply with local government budget law and local government audit law. So the joke is our performance metrics for budget is we have to develop one a year. If we don't develop and adopt one budget, if it's 0, we get fired, and if it's 2, we get fired. So we work with the Board of County Commissioners in developing the budget each year. Same with the comprehensive financial report and audit. Not only do they do a financial audit, they also do a single audit of our use of federal funds, which leads to the next bullet point. We're right now in the middle of the maelstrom that is financial reporting and compliance for the federal funds we receive from not only CARES, but also from the American Rescue Plan Act and the Emergency Rental Assistance that you've heard of before. The ARPA funding extends to 2026 at the very latest. We have to keep financial records for 5 years beyond that. ERA funding ends in 2025, same thing. We have to keep financial records for 5 years beyond that. So we'll be living with ARPA and ERA and the rest of the alphabet soup for a number of years to come. Obviously, implementing the BOC strategic direction on the budget is also an important task for us. And then new and upcoming, we're right in the middle of the health department formation as well, whether we just had the Board of Health meeting this afternoon where we worked on the budget estimates to be submitted to the county, financial processes for all the stuff that goes on in the health department that deals with money, whether that be restaurant inspection fees, the vital records fees, all the other types of financial processes that go along with that, grant administration and compliance. And then obviously the judicial district transition is also on the horizon. A lot of the same things we've had to tackle with the health department will be hitting rewind and replaying that with the judicial district transition as well. So that's kind of the finance department in a nutshell. So thank you.
Todd gets the record for speed talking. Human resources.
No, actually.
No?
We stuck
Public
in the
health?
department.
Okay,
So
that's
you know
fine.
me in your slides. So good evening, Jennifer Ludwig, Public Health Director. And as Minnie mentioned, we are currently under construction. So with public health, we are building our health department right now for Arapahoe County as a single county health department. And public health, we really focus on prevention. We are not health care, so we are focused on the health of the entire population and that first line of prevention. And next slide. So the department that we are building, we've focused on community health and consumer protection and really group them in those categories, as well as we do have administration, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But in our community health, this is our clinical services. While I said we're not healthcare, we do not treat sick, but we do have prevention programs such as family planning, immunizations, women, infant, children, which is a food supplemental program. It is the largest program in the state. And we have received confirmation that we've been authorized to be a WIC site. So we are currently working on obtaining funds and approvals to have these programs in Arapahoe County. And then in consumer protection, I would say most people are probably well aware that we inspect restaurants. People very much care about the safety of their food, but we also inspect body art facilities, pool, water, on-site wastewater treatment. We also respond to public health emergencies. Y'all might remember COVID. Public health was at the forefront there. But emergency preparedness and response is a core program of public health. This is our estimated 2023 budget. You all been looking at the current 2022 budget. As Todd mentioned, our Board of Health, which was appointed in June. So public health it is a department of Arapahoe County, but it does have a separate Board of Health, of which 2 commissioners are on and 3 community members. So our estimated 2023 budget is right now $21.2 million, with an estimated full-time employees of 182. We anticipate this changing a bit as we learn what funding becomes available, what we are eligible for, and what we receive in grants. So we have been applying like crazy to state and different foundations for different funding sources and programs. And once those funds come in, we will start to adjust this. But we feel that this is pretty spot on to where we will land at the beginning of next year. And of that 182, that makes up in our nursing, environmental health, emergency preparedness, all of the programs, including we also issue birth and death certificates, so we'll be doing that. So many of the programs and services that many of you are probably aware of, we will be operating a full-fledged health department and ready to go January 1st.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Upcoming. We're still under construction. The rest of this year, we will be focused on recruiting. We have currently recruited and secured 80 of those FTE have committed to coming over to Arapahoe County. So it's great. We've got 80 staff ready to go. We have 100 more to go. So we will continue to do recruitment. The human resources team has been vital in doing all of that. And we're looking at our facilities, we are grant writing, we're looking at all of our funds. And then next year, once we are up and running, per state law, we have to have a public health improvement plan. So we will be working with our board as well as our community to develop a public health improvement plan that looks at what are the priorities in the community and what do we need to focus on for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Now human resources.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Hernandez. I'm the director of HR. I want to stand right here. Our function really is to strive to be a strategic business partner by developing and implementing initiatives that support the county. And by the way, what I mean by the county is the entire county as a whole, departments, offices, and employees too. But some people think HR only supports the business, right? But they don't really support employees. So there's a fine line, balancing line to do that. We also have to look at associated risk in areas with legal compliance. We work with Ron and his team on that. And what I mean by that is we need to make sure that our compensation policies and philosophies and our employee relations philosophies and policies are consistent. Okay, so we stay with that now. From a budgeting and staffing perspective, our budget's $2.3 million. A lot of that obviously is salaries and benefits. We also have training, leadership training for the organization and technical training. Full-time employees in our group, the HR group, are made up of 3 different divisions. We have employee relations where there's individuals that are assigned to each department and office to support them on those strategic initiatives. We have a total compensation group which are comp and benefits. We don't have the pension in our group, but we have the training organization too. Two of those individuals are funded by ARPA. You've heard a lot about ARPA tonight. I should say these are ongoing projects, and as you can see, public health, DEI, 18 judicial, these things have already come up, by the way, in our discussions, because we work as a team, as a director team, and so each one of those three, okay, has a group. So I'll just talk a little bit about our function. From a public health department, Jennifer just talked about recruiting. So we're in the process of continuing to post and hire individuals. But I think our big challenge is going to be towards the end of the year and next year when we're trying to look at a particular number and compete, by the way, against other public health organizations, because there's a lot more hanging around. So I think that's going to be a real challenge for us. From a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, we did hire a management consultant. They've done an assessment, okay, on our policies. They've done a survey. We have helped them build a task force made up of employees in departments and offices. They have made recommendations to what we call the E-team, which are the directors and the deputies pretty much sitting in this room. And the next step is to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. After that, we'll decide and figure out what we can do, when we can do it, and how much it's going to cost us. And there may be some things that we're going to implement from a DEI perspective at the tail end of this year, but it's a 3 to 5 year program, our consultants tell us too, because there's a lot involved. You don't have anything started in place. From a collective bargaining, you probably, our 18 judicial, I'm sorry, I'm working on that, but our main role right now is providing what we provide as a county in compensation and in benefits, comparing them to the 18 judicial now. And if we end up absorbing those employees, which would be another 100 employees, how would that work? How would that look? Would it look similar to health? And what would the differences be? The collective bargaining, the state statute in play now to bargain in good faith. So we're starting meetings on that. And HR, from an HR perspective, we need education on that. None of us, some of us have little background in the unions, of course, because it's not a union state. So that's one of our initiatives this year is to do that and figure out what we may need for next year. Our Americans with Disabilities Act process simplification, what I mean by that is we have a policy. I mean, it kind of works, but we'd like to make it easier, more user-friendly. All right, and then I think Michelle talked about the website redesign. We'll be looking at doing some additional upgrades with regards to that.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, good evening. I'm Cheryl Turner. I'm the Human Services Director. And Ron's group does all things law, and we do all things human. All right, so our mission really is to build strong communities by promoting the safety, independence, and stability of individuals and families. And all of that, we want to work to end generational poverty and prevent abuse and neglect of children and vulnerable adults. We do all of this using what we call a two-generational approach, which is our practice, which basically means that we serve both the adults and the children simultaneously, working on what their needs, barriers are so that they can achieve economic stability and security going forward. All right, so these are our core services. Public assistance is huge. We determine eligibility for food assistance, financial assistance for families, for vulnerable adults, elderly adults, and we also determine eligibility for Medicaid. We provide childcare assistance to families while parents are looking for work, working toward their GED, working in a vocational program, attending college, etc., so that they can be successful and again become economically stable and secure. We also provide heat and energy assistance through a federal program called LEAP, which is Low Income Energy Assistance Program. And again, that's needs-based for low-income families who need help with their heating costs.
We also provide child support services. So basically, we establish orders, we modify orders, we locate parents, we establish paternity, we do all the things that we can to establish child support for kids so that they can be successful. Then on the other side of the house, we also do child and family services. So we do child and adult protection. We respond to reports of abuse and neglect of children and vulnerable adults. It's our goal to ensure that families and kids are safe and that adults are safe as well. And we also have a very unique foster care and adoption program. We partner with Douglas and Jefferson counties, and we operate a full foster care and adoption program. The beauty of that is we can access resources across those 3 huge counties. So we have more resources in which to place kids when we do have to actually place them out of the home, which we try and avoid. We try and keep families together if we can, but if children can't remain in their homes safely, then we do have to put them in care. And we do look for kinship care too first before we place them in foster care. All right, we're a huge department, so our budget in 2022 is over $74 million. Most of that is state and federal funding, with about 20%, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. It depends on the funding allocations is county funding. So most of it is state and federal funding. Right now, we have 642 full-time employees in the department. Additional services that we provide family resource navigation, which is a group of staff that work with families who are at risk of or experiencing homelessness. We get them connected to resources in the community in order to either prevent that or get them into some sort of transitional or longer term housing. We also administer from both of our offices, our large offices, emergency food assistance, which is basically commodities. So when families come to us and we can't provide food assistance right away, but they need food, we will actually give them food to take home. So they have it until they get their food assistance benefits in the system. We have various classes and workshops that we provide in-house for free to any human services clients. Motherhood, fatherhood, relationship education, financial literacy, and many more programs like that to help our families and individuals. We also do an extensive mandated reporter training across the county, which our staff go out and educate mandated reporters about what child abuse and neglect looks like, right? And then instruct them on how to contact us if they see it. And then we also have our own sort of homegrown transitional housing program, residential program for families that we built in partnership with Family Tree, which is a unique non-for-profit in Arapahoe County in the metro area. We provide on-site residential services, and on that site we have all kinds of services to support those families who are in the program so that they can become self-sufficient and achieve safe and stable housing. And that program is located in Aurora.
IT.
Good evening, everyone. Close to I'm the director of IT. Information technology here at the county is a core service for technology to all departments, elected offices. We follow that shared business model, much like HR and finance. I'd like to think our mission is to promote innovation throughout the county and to provide technology-forward solutions for our departments. We are primarily an internal-facing department, so we have a lot of carpenters in the room, and we hand out the tools for everyone to do their job and deliver those services to our residents. Like I said before, we're centralized. We provide analysis services, project management, infrastructure assets, systems, and customer assistance for our service desk and applications. Next slide. We have a total staff of about 73, and out of those, we have 3 divisions. We have infrastructure, applications, and and then business relationships. In the business relationship division, they are primarily there for the departments, our customers. They go out, they meet with the departments, meet with elective offices, go over project roadmaps, technology that they like to implement, and kind of be that BRM role. In the back half of the office, we have infrastructure and applications. We provide over 200 services internally, and out of that 200 services, about over 100 are applications. So it's very large, very heavy on the application side. Infrastructure, of course, is compiled of network, desktop, and service desk. So I like to think of them as keeping the lights on. So you come in, you flip your laptop open, you log in, that's infrastructure. Next slide. We have an annual budget of $16.6 million, and right now in the pipeline, $2.7 million in capital expenditure. Next slide. Upcoming projects, as you all heard, health department is a big one. A lot of our resources have been focused on implementing EHR, health, environmental health systems, and of course getting the network and the infrastructure set up for the health department. Some of these other items here, cloud migration, we're looking at options to take the county infrastructure to cloud to save costs and to build that redundancy and cybersecurity. We have our fiber connectivity initiative where we're trying to work with our partners in the community to bring fiber connectivity to our facilities for fast and reliable connection, and of course reducing costs at the same time. Digital services, the digital service initiative is big, creating that digital experience for our residents, being able to go to the website and within a matter of clicks be able to apply or get to the area of interest that you're trying to get through to. And we're working with Michelle's team on that with the website redesign and the CMS product. Another is the Microsoft EA assessment. As we roll into next year, we'll be looking at how can we, again, reduce costs for the county on assessing our Microsoft licensing and right-sizing that. And then, of course, we're looking at SharePoint moving forward as not only our intranet, but moving a lot of our file share to the cloud, which is a tool that we already have today. So that's pretty much our upcoming projects. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, open spaces, Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon Carter. I'm the Open Spaces Director of Arapahoe County. As open spaces are concerned, if you live near a park, if you live near a trail, or if you live near an open space, you've probably been touched by our organization, partnerships, projects, et cetera, et cetera. As Commissioner Sharpe mentioned, the quarter-cent sales and use tax that the county has goes to parks, trails, and open space. What's interesting and what's unique about our department is that 62% of the money that we receive actually goes out to the community. Through a share bag, 50% of it goes to cities, towns that are within Arapahoe County. We also have a 12% grant program. So cities, towns, and special districts with a recreational purpose can all apply for those types of grants. And so we put a lot of money into the community, and with that, we've leveraged it into some of the stats that you see up on the screen. 31,000 acres of parks and open space that have been preserved, 73 miles of trails, and of course this is the expansion since the tax came into play. 168 different parks, and of course we also do a few other things, a lot of community events. I saw a number of you folks at the county fair. That's one of the things that happens within my department. Also, we've got a historic house, the 17-mile house, if you recognize that, along Parker Road. We do chalk lines and vines, we do 5Ks, we do all kinds of fun stuff. So a lot of community activities and community events. Next slide, please. As far as annual budget is concerned, the sales and use tax brings in about $35 to $38 million, depending upon, of course, the year. COVID seems to have kind of boosted sales tax because we have not slowed down. It's been 6 and 7% increase over the last couple of years, and so we've actually kind of benefited from people really paying a lot more attention to their recreational opportunities. And again, we do partner with a number of our municipalities and special districts actually to deliver those services. 33 full-time employees. We are very lean and mean. It doesn't mean that we're grouchy and anorexic.
They're nice. That's the fun department. They're wonderful.
So that's why we do a lot of fun stuff. So have a number of different things. As far as upcoming projects are concerned, last year we had a master planning process, which was really updating an original master plan that we had done in 2009. And so, again, the master plan really identified certain needs and certain focus areas, which of course, providing equitable access to nature, doing a lot more projects that we're currently doing. Although we do partner with a lot of our cities and towns, we are responsible for about 6,000 acres of parks, trails, or parks and open space, really. We've got a couple of large ranches out east. We've got a number of urban parks. Probably the most used one is the Dove Valley Regional Park, which is right catty-corner from the Broncos training facility. If you've got any type of youth sports, you probably played in that particular park. And so that is one of our responsibilities. We've got a number of parks under development. Acadia Park, which is in the 4 square mile area, close to probably the closest cross streets are Mexico and about Dayton, I believe. Dove Valley Regional Park, we're expanding that park. And Cheyenne Arapahoe, Kiowa North, which is in the eastern part of the county. Parker Road overpass, that's what that construction is, as close to 17 Mile House. Will actually be a pedestrian overpass that will give people, that will connect the High Plains Regional Trail or the E470 Trail with the Cherry Creek Trail. So that's one of our projects that we're funding. We've done a lot of work with the Highland Canal, the Highland Canal Conservancy, the Highland Canal Collaborative. If you've ever tried to get across Hampton and Colorado before we put the underpasses in, that was one of our projects that we helped fund. Mississippi and Parker, that's another one that we funded. We've got 2 or 3, we've got 7 others that we've identified. We're going for federal funding for at least 3 or 4 of them. That's coming up fairly soon. The way we do it is through working groups. That is, we collaboratively bring special districts, cities, towns together. We pool our resources, pool our money. We partner with our public works department to do transportation, or excuse me, the multimodal component of transportation projects. And so that's one of the ways we've been able to leverage the dollars that we receive for parks, trails, and open space into so many different programs and activities. Again, I talked about the community events. Also, the Extension Office, the Colorado State University Extension Office is also under open spaces. And so we do a number of different youth programs through 4-H, cottage food training, as well as horticulture and agricultural training. So that's all part of the open spaces program.
Thank you. Right. Speaking of leveraging.
Yes, we do a lot of leveraging. I am Brian Weimer, Public Works Director, and we are an external facing organization. And by that, our mission is to provide our community with vital infrastructure and professional governmental services is what we do. And with that, I'm proud to say that we are the only county public works agency in Colorado that is accredited by the American Public Works Association, and the 137th in North America that has been accredited. We've just been reaccredited this year, so we're proud of that. We are broken into 6 different divisions. 3 of the divisions focus on land development. 2 of the divisions focus on providing and maintaining infrastructure, and then we have an administrative services division. So with that, our building division is one of the land development divisions, and that's everything vertical. So that's what we permit, we inspect. So typically we'll permit anywhere between 35 to 4,000 building permits a year and have anywhere between 35 and 40,000 inspections out of that division. The planning division is current planning, so that's land development. Long-range planning, so that's comprehensive plans and direction of where we're going. Zoning administration, code enforcement, energy oversight, oil and gas, and solar. And then animal services, unique within a public works organization. Usually it houses within the sheriff's department, but we work very close with them. And then noxious weeds, which is a state statute that we have to have. Next slide. Engineering services also supports land development. And so those are all the services that they provide. They do land development or engineering review of land development. They permit our right-of-way usage, utilities, those sorts of things. We have an environmental program or MS4 program that is housed within that area. And then oil and gas review and rural standards. As you know, we have very diverse, as we talked about, so we have urban and rural standards that we require in terms of development. Then we'll get into our infrastructure side. Road and Bridge does all the maintenance associated with the infrastructure that we have. So it's roads, bridges, both paved and unpaved roads, signs, snow removal, sweeping, all those sorts of things are Road and Bridge. Next slide. Transportation is the capital side in the transportation planning side of the infrastructure or of the infrastructure group. They do project delivery for capital projects. They do transportation planning. We operate the signals. And what else? Street signs, operations, that sort of thing. And we also have ITS systems, and that integrates with.
How did I know it was a quiz?
Is that a quiz?
Yes.
And that integrates with what IT does in terms of their infrastructure for flagging. So we work together with them relative to that. And then support services. As Todd mentioned, we all have our own budgeting type, and that's where that group is. Plus they support us, and we have a mapping function which supports the assessor's office. So that's what we look at with regard to that. Our budget is $37.3 million. 19 million of that is road and bridge. Of that 19 million, roughly 9 million is highway user tax funds, or the 22 cents that you pay at the gas pump, that is state tax. We get our share out of that. The other portions are fees and property tax. What we receive in terms of property tax is about 45 cents out of every $1,000 of assessed value goes to road and bridge. The other components of that 37 million are about 5 to 6 million of capital improvements, and the rest is about $2 million in equipment replacement and roughly $10 million for staffing. Staffing is 139 employees, and we have 3 locations throughout the town. One by the airport, the Peoria shop, one out Eastern Service Center, which is essentially Quincy and Kiowa Bennett, or well, Brook Center Road, and then all the way in Deer Trail. So that's what we're set up to do. Next slide. Upcoming projects. We are automating our contractor licensing program. That will be going live at the end of this year, or end of this month, excuse me. Recruitment, retention, and employment engagement. And we always feel that engagement is a huge thing, and it's an ongoing effort. Where recruitment is the challenge right now is you've all heard about CDL drivers, right? Well, CDL drivers, commercial driver's license, are the folks that plow your roads. And so it's getting those folks into our facility. We've changed our hiring strategy associated with that just recently within the last 30 days, and we'll see how that works. In-person public engagement. During the pandemic, we did everything virtually. Now we're going back out, and we have a lot of different projects that are coming up. A water supply study, looking at water supply within the entire county, particularly out east, where that is groundwater and non-renewable. What does that look like? What are our options? Looking at comprehensive plan implementation and land development code. So we're looking at land development code changes that will help Kathy moving forward with homelessness and affordable housing. So we're doing some of those things that we're working together. Records digitization, so that we're putting all our massive numbers of paper into a digital format to make it easy accessible to the public. And then capital improvement projects, some of which are Iliff Avenue, Commissioner Jackson's area that's going on right now. The Gun Club Road corridor, doing improvements with that associated with City of Aurora. Parker Road corridor study between Mississippi and Hamden. That's getting ready to be kicked off. Arapahoe Buckeye left turn lanes. Anybody that has driven out there know the congestion that occurs. And then Tempe Bellevue roundabout is another thing. Finally, we're working with Excel and developing a program for looking at electric vehicle charging stations throughout the county and planning for that. So those are our upcoming projects and things that we're working on. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Sheriff's Office Clerk.
Go after the two guys with the best jokes. I'm Ken McClam. I'm one of the captains at the Sheriff's Office. I'm the Special Operations Captain. So the Sheriff's Office, our mission statement, committed to quality service with an emphasis on integrity, professionalism, and community service. If you follow either local news, state news, or national news, Arapahoe County has been highly regarded as long as I've been there, which is 28 years and under 4 sheriffs. We have 5 national accreditations. We're waiting, hopefully, any day we're going to get a 6th one delivered to us. And working on a 7th one for our Office of Emergency Management. So just like some other departments, wherever there are national best practices that we can follow, we strive to do that. The Sheriff's Office has been around since 1858, back when this was Kansas, believe it or not. If you remember your Colorado history, Sheriff Ned Wynkoop was the first one. That's who the street logo is named for. We provide law enforcement services, special unit services, communications, and emergency management to contract municipalities, unincorporated areas, and assistance to surrounding agencies. So what some of that means is law enforcement, direct public safety, man or woman in a police car driving around handling calls. Obviously, we do for unincorporated Arapahoe. We do for the city of Centennial. We do for unincorporated towns out east, as well as the town of Foxfield. Some of the special units, smaller municipalities like Cherry Hills Village and Sheridan do not have their own. So we provide SWAT support, bomb squad support, K-9 unit support for those, and emergency management services across that same spectrum. Our jail provides jail services for all of Arapahoe County, all the municipalities, whether they have a small municipal jail or not. So when people are sentenced, even on municipal charges, they can go serve their time in the county jail. Our budget last year was $110,654,000. Total employees are 828. Of that, 563 and a quarter. We have a very short person. Are sworn, which means badge wearing, sworn law enforcement. And then civilians, 264.75. Again, a lot of our offices like emergency management, communications for the 911 authority, obviously those are civilians. Those staff are divided into 3 bureaus. We have a Detention Services Bureau, which is the largest. It runs the jail. It's approximately, it's more than half of the total number of deputies working the jail. Court Services that provide security for both court facilities here in Littleton and at the District Court Complex. We work closely with the Chief Judge and ensure safety of those facilities. Then our Public Safety Bureau, which is where I'm at. Special Operations, that's all the specialized units from the K-9s to the SWAT team, all of those things. Patrol, which is the largest area, is about 140 folks in patrol. and then investigations. And then last but not least, support services. That's where we have dispatch, training, internal affairs, our own finance section, our own HR section, and so on that provide those services for us. As far as the big upcoming projects, it is always busy at the sheriff's office. There was always something crazy going on. The upcoming ones I highlighted: jail expansion, replacement. Some others have talked about that, and I'm sure you'll get to hear lots more about it on your journey to become an elected official. They're working on some expansion projects right now for support functions at the jail, but the long-term strategic what to do with the jail is the biggest issue. Long-term funding for public safety services and equipment. Crime is obviously much higher in the last few years than it has been at any point in my career. In, again, 28 years, we have not had crime to this level. So it's been very busy. We also have some growth in areas. There's an area out east in Commissioner Baker's area, south of Bennett, that if you've driven out there lately, they are breaking ground on enormous areas that is going to involve growth and be a challenge for how to provide those services. As well as even in town, it seems like everything's built out, but it's amazing how many apartment buildings and hotels they can still find room to put in. And then again, that growth due to population increases, just managing that, what those numbers are within the available resources we have to do. I will say, after listening to all the other departments, we do work with all the other county departments, whether it's planning for elections, which we're in the middle of. We just got done supporting the fair. We're going to work with Human Services here on some safety planning for their facilities. So again, through 4 sheriffs, we've always had whatever you guys need, we'll do. We staff a position here at this building for the safety of everyone during the day. And I'll stick around till after and answer any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. And he is also our county historian.
I am the amateur county historian.
Thank you. Now we have strategy, Mark.
Thank you. I wasn't aware I had to come prepared with jokes, so it won't be as funny as the rest of them. I'm Laura Mesa. I'm a senior strategy analyst with our Department of Strategy and Performance. And as a county, we are committed to providing the best services and the most efficient county government in the state of Colorado. And our department really strives to facilitate that throughout the county. So in order to do that, we really manage the performance management program as well as the process improvement program. And then we help and assist with coordinating the annual leadership workshops, which we have recently transitioned from 1 workshop a year to 2. So I'm not sure annual is appropriate here. So we like to think that these efforts ensure performance excellence and government accountability for our residents, businesses, and even employees of Arapahoe County. So we are the smallest and newest department in the county with only 3 FTEs, and our budget is just over $500,000. So a lot of people don't know that we exist because there are really only 2 of us right now. So I'm here to tell you that how we do exist, and we're here to assist all of our departments and offices. And when I say assist our departments and offices, we really do that in 2 main ways: through our performance management and process improvement programs. And so in terms of upcoming projects, the first one we have here under performance management is the development of our performance management community. And we use the term community really to describe the liaisons of performance management representatives from all of our departments and offices that we have. So we bring those people together on a bi-monthly basis to really talk about best practices in performance management, looking at some of our county scorecard measures, and also look at how we can potentially develop new measures. And then under that, I also work with all of our departments and offices to update their scorecards to ensure that we are measuring the correct things and measuring those things in the right way. In fact, just today I met with Open Spaces, I met with Glenn Poole to talk through some. Tomorrow I'm meeting with people in IT. We just work with them to make sure that our scorecards are up to date, and again, that we're measuring things that our residents want to see and understand. So under process improvement, the main thing that we're working on right now is rolling out our process improvement rewards program. So we've completed over 40 process improvement projects in the last 3 years. And through that program, our staff have saved the county tons of money and work hours. So we really want to incentivize them to keep on coming up with these ideas and formalizing a way that we can reward them so that they keep on bringing me projects and we can get our processes running as efficiently as they can. So kind of going with the first bullet point that we have here, we're also looking to develop a process improvement community, which will be similar to the performance management one, but with a focus on process improvement. So again, bringing people together from all of our departments and offices to talk about best practices. Even though we have very different processes, at the core, a lot of them are very similar. So instead of recreating the wheel, we really want to provide a forum for sharing these ideas. And then the last thing we have here is that we're working on developing an internal process improvement curriculum so that we can get all of our staff trained on not only how to identify opportunities for improvements, but how to efficiently implement and measure them. So we're hoping to have that up and running by the end of this year so that next year we can get some of the staff that these people have talked about trained on this program, and we can keep on making our operations as efficient as possible. That's it for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Last but not at all least, our treasurer.
I was going to say that whenever we have one of these countywide things, I always go last, and I finally figured out it's because you saved the best for last. So the treasurer's office, everything we do is according to state statute. Our roles are very, very well defined in state statute. If you remember all the way back to the A's when we started the assessor, they value all the properties in the county. Then, as Todd talked about, all those 433 taxing districts determine their mill levies. We take those, multiply those out, and you come up with a property tax bill. And we send out about we prepare about 231,000 of those bills every January. We don't send them all out because if your mortgage pays your property taxes, we don't send you a full bill unless you request one. It saves us about $40,000 a year in postage to do that. We have, our total bills are about 1.25 billion in both personal property and real property. The county does not keep all that money. It all comes to my office. Be nice to keep it, but the biggest share of it, we only keep about 17%, 16%, something like that. The rest of it goes back out to all those 433 taxing districts. We're one of those. And the schools, the cities, everybody else gets their money. We do charge them a fee for doing that, but it all comes through my office, and then within every month we do distributions, and that money goes back out to who it belongs to. The other thing we do is we act as the county's banker. Money is collected. Motor vehicle collects a ton of money. The sheriff's office collects some money. The fair building department collects some money. We coordinate the Armored Car Service that goes around, picks up all that money, puts it in the bank. All the information about that money is sent to us. All the departments and offices approve their own invoices. The accounts payable and finance pays all the bills. We don't pay that, but we get all that information, and then we do the reconciliation process. Make sure the money we anticipate being there is all in the bank. Make sure that there aren't more expenditures than what we actually expected, and we reconcile all of those accounts in the treasurer's office. We also manage the cash flow in the county. Those that $1.25 billion all comes in pretty much in January through June. But our bills are throughout the whole year, our biggest bill being payroll, and that continues even after we quit collecting money. So we have to take that money and manage the cash flow of those so that when we get to November and December, we still have money to pay the payroll. Everybody wants to keep getting paid all year long. I don't. So anyway, we do manage the cash flow to make sure that we have money available when we need it. We invest idle funds. Some of them very short term because we're going to need them in a few months. Some of them we have county reserves, about $300 million roughly, that we invest longer term. Again, it's all according to state statute and very, very safe, very low yielding investments for the most part, but we manage that also. The other thing, effective July 1st, 2020, I became the public trustee. The 10 biggest counties used to have appointed public trustees. The legislature changed that. The public trustee is an impartial third party in between the mortgage companies who are foreclosing on property owners that have defaulted on their mortgages and those property owners. So we want to make sure the mortgage companies follow all the rules and don't take advantage of the people they're foreclosing against. We have to do a lot of notifications and things like that. We're the only state in the country that has a public trustee process. And I think it works really well. It protects those homeowners, but it also ensures that the mortgage companies get the money that's coming to them. So every Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, we have 7 properties that are foreclosed. They'll be sold at auction here in our West hearing. It's kind of interesting. The treasurer also serves on the board. We have a defined benefit plan, a 401A plan. 9% of your salary goes away before you ever even see it for every employee, including elected officials. And that money is invested. Then when you retire, you can draw benefits. By state law, the treasurer is a member of that board. By county policy, this county treasurer is also a member of our 457 savings plan. That's an optional plan that employees can save money for their future, whatever, pre-tax, and the treasurer sits on that board also. We have an annual budget of $14.4 million. A big chunk of that comes from fees that we charge all those 400 and some taxing districts to collect their money and give it back to them. They pay us a fee to do that. We have $2.7 million in expenditures, which is almost entirely payroll in my office. There are 18 people in the treasurer's office, 3 in the public trustee's office, and 2 on the administration of the retirement plan. I could probably talk for another hour or so if you'd like me to, but I think we're done.
Yeah.
That part.
Yes, I just want to thank all of you all, right? And then, as I mentioned earlier, these are some of the hardest working, smartest. So we have maybe about 15 minutes for Q&A, and I'll do my best to kind of moderate that and make sure that everybody who wants to have a question, all of us could talk forever about stuff, but we'll try to be brief. Okay, you have your hand up first.
Yes, so what I'm hearing, and again, thank you for staying extra and being away from your family. This was very informative, so thanks for putting this together. My question is that it's obvious that some of the departments are very county specific, and others, there's that overlap of municipalities and the county. Do we have a simplified explanation of that separation yet marriage between the county and the municipalities, you know, such as the homelessness, schools, because, you know, the county funds it, but Aurora has their school, Littleton has theirs. So they run their own thing, but they're dependent upon the county. And it seems like so many departments have that marriage. And is there some formula or explanation?
Well, they're different, right? Because different departments have different stipulations. So first of all, the only thing we have to do with schools is that Sue sorts the money. We don't have any jurisdiction over schools. Okay. So that, for example,
other than funding,
road and bridge, for example.
Well, and we don't fund it. It just comes through us.
Right.
We're passed through.
Right. Yeah.
And we do that for a number of other funds. With road and bridge, for example, I live in the city of Aurora. Aurora takes care of their own roads. We partner with them, leverage sometimes a regional project. So some of these bigger projects, we'll put in some, they'll put in some, and so on. But we're responsible for the roads and bridges, et cetera, in the unincorporated parts of the county. So it depends. Human services is the whole county. So it's hard, there's no formula.
Okay.
But depending, our new health department will be for the whole county. Looking to see.
Sheriff does Centennial.
Sheriff does Centennial, but that's by contract.
Gotcha.
But everybody, you know, all the cities send their people to our jail because it's the county jail. So it depends on which office and what what the program is. We do workforce development for the whole county. We do
Coroner's the whole county.
the coroner does the whole
Recorder's
county.
the whole county.
Yeah. So a lot of our services are for the whole county, but we don't do everything for everybody.
You know, I think the really nice thing is, and I hate to say that CARES really got us moving in that, but it really solidified the really strong relationship with our cities. I think we had a good relationship with them in the beginning, you know, and have. But I think that program, we really worked very collaboratively together. And I think when we, like homelessness, like transportation, you know, those are the things where we do work. I think the opioid money, we do work very collaboratively with our cities and look for opportunities. Although we don't have to, we try to look for those because we can find economies and do what, you know, what our residents across the county would like to see. And sometimes, you know, people don't always know where they are all the time. You know, if they're going from one city to another or unincorporated into a city. So it's nice to be able to work. In fact, when we have some of our town halls, and Brian gets most of the questions on transportation, you know, many of them are questions
in the cities.
From the cities, you know, so it's, yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell.
But we know. What other questions do you have? Oh, yes.
So Jennifer, on the health department real quick, it's such a massive undertaking. Are there any actions that will fall into next year that the new Board of Commissioners will have to handle, or is everything going to be pretty much be done by January 1st?
No, there will be definitely things that the Board of Health will address next year. A lot of the building of the infrastructure, the policies, regulations, fees, things that need to be adopted by our Board of Health in order for us to start on January 1 will be adopted this year. So the Board of Health is meeting twice a month and has been since June and will twice a month until the end of the year. So we'll be presenting, like next month, we'll be presenting on-site wastewater treatment regulations because there's a schedule per the state that have to be adopted. So the board will be looking at those and considering those for adoption in December. They'll have to adopt environmental health fees. There's a handful of things that they have to take action on, but the rest are mostly internal policies and procedures and policy adoption. But as things come up next year, the Board of Health will have to address them.
Ron?
I just said that the framework for the new health department is being largely established this year. And will be implemented starting January 1st. Most of the framework will be fully established.
Well, statutorily, the Board of County Commissioners approves the budget, but the Board of Health is really the driver and the two commissioners for those policy directions. So the Board of County Commissioner role and implementation of public health is fairly narrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, what else? Sure you have, yes.
I have a question for Captain McClellan. What do you attribute the rise in crime to? It's been, it was the highest now in 28 years. What do you think?
Iowa-wide, metro area. During COVID, we had lockdowns, so we put in restrictive measures on the jails. A lot of the jails around Colorado did that. Judges were giving PR bonds to a lot of folks instead of putting them in jail to try to reduce this population. And that just has an effect. A very small percentage of our population is responsible for a very large percentage of the crime. And when those people are not held accountable, they go on to do that and do it prolifically. We've been doing some targeted enforcement areas and hotspots. We had one, for example, last month We arrested 9 people out of an apartment, and the crime in that entire little parking lot, 3 or 4 buildings, dropped to almost nothing for the following year. So we're talking shootings, car thefts, we recovered a pretty large amount of fentanyl out of that apartment, multiple guns. All of these folks were previously convicted felons. So it's part of it is the state legislature. They've changed some laws that make it more difficult. Part of it is the judges, and again, we have to have all of those entities working together to have a functioning system. Right now in the state, in my opinion, is not.
Before this, I'm sorry, can I ask another one to follow up?
Let me just make sure that, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Before this period, what was the winner? Which was the next?
If you remember very far back when I first started in 1994, they had just had what former Denver Mayor Wellington Webb referred to as the Summer of Violence in 1993, and that was the previous period. That had just occurred before. It was still really going on when I first started.
Is the historian.
Yes, yes, he can talk a lot about lots of wonderful things. We do have a really robust Justice Coordinating Committee, and we discuss issues like that. So what other questions do y'all have? Here you have all these brilliant people and ready to answer your questions. Oh, maybe they said it all.
I'll throw one last out
Yeah.
there for the good captain. I know you were previously collaborating with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office with your academy, and you just recently started your own academy with about 27 folks in it. Can you tell me how that is cost effective, or the partnership you had before, and what the need was that Arapahoe County started their own academy instead of sharing that expense between 2 counties?
Well, it's a lower, what the foundation was charging is it's a lower cost per student to us by doing our own. I don't remember what the exact figure was, and I think that's been shared with Bob and some others as to what that's anticipated costs are. I want to say it's $2,000 per student by doing that, and that's because the way that's set up as a foundation, we end up paying budget money to the foundation per slot, so we're paying a tuition slot for academy. Plus, by doing it jointly, we don't control it, so it's, you know, it's at a facility that's in Douglas County. They're providing most of the administrative staff, so it's kind of like a mother may I. You know, we would like to send 10. Then circumstances change. We want to send 12, and now we can't send 12 because they only gave us 10. So having our own control to do it, we can have an academy up to, if we staff it, we recruit for it, up to 35 people at most standards of our own. And then the other factors, a lot of it is just culture. We're training them our way from the beginning. You don't have to compromise with another agency. So for example, the defensive tactics model that they use in Douglas County is not what we would use. So we have to retrain those folks in that once they came on board with us. So they were doing the model we use that we think is more effective. And so now they do all that stuff in-house, as well as there's some additional things that are not post-required that are part of the academy that we would later have to pull people out of service to send them to that training after they were fully employed, taken away from the duties. And now that's all included. We get that all from start to finish. So in the end, the numbers seem to say it is more cost effective to do it that way for us, and it gives us control over the process from start to finish.
Thank you for that.
All right, we have 2 minutes. Yeah, one more.
There's several revenue sources in the county. I know the assessor's office, you have clerk and recorder. How does that rank out?
We're going to let Todd answer that.
Yeah, so when you're talking about revenue sources, the largest source of revenue for the county is property tax. So that's about $145 million across a number of funds. The general fund receives about $120 million of that. And then, yeah, I mean, you know, when you look at the treasurer's office, as Sue indicated, there's about $14 million that come in from a variety of fees. There are tax collection fees, also the earnings on investments. The clerk and recorder's office, I don't remember the total off the top of my head, but there's a significant amount of money that comes in for land recording fees on real estate transactions. That's around $4 to $5 million. Motor vehicle revenue is probably around $7 or $8 million. So as far as primary revenue sources, property tax #1 in the general fund. Number 2 is specific ownership tax that you pay on motor vehicle registration. That's collected through motor vehicle, and we get to retain a portion of that through the state. And then the other fees and charges. Public Works clerk and recorder's office, and treasurer all right there in the top line.
Great, thank you.
And does that all go into the general fund for general operational?
Yep. So like in the case of the interest earnings and motor vehicle fees and property taxes, that all goes into the bucket in the general fund. That's kind of the sandbox that we have to play nice in. We have over 24 different funds in the county financial structure. And some of those other funds, like whether it be human services or open space sales and use tax, those have revenues that are coming in from a restricted revenue source, or the revenues come in for a restricted expenditure purpose. So when you think about that $450 million, about half of it's coming into other funds, whether that be the lottery proceeds from the Conservation Trust Fund, which goes to supplement some of the open space and recreational opportunities. We have the electronic filing technology fees that are collected on documents to help with the electronic recording of documents. All the money from the state and from for social services programs that go into human services, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's quite a diverse amount of revenues. It's sales tax, sales and use tax only goes for the preservation and acquisition of open space within the county, and most of that gets shared back with municipalities. But there's a number of different revenue sources that come into it.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in, and good luck to each of you and your endeavors. And the next couple of months should be pretty intense, and where some of us are just trying to kind of kick. Well, we can't till you get here. So anyway, the best of luck to you all, and for those of you on the rim here, thank you so much for your time and for your contributions to this amazing county, award-winning, absolute best county in Colorado.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.